We're going to start with Brian Brown. I'm sure a lot of you are really familiar with Brian. He's from Green Valley, Missouri, and he's been racing for some time now. Early 2000s, late 90s is when he started, and we'll talk about that a little bit. His accomplishments here at Knoxville, he's done really well in the Nationals as of late. I think he's finished in the top 7 the last 5 years. Of course, 3 years in a row he finished second to I can't remember who won.
I can't think either.
Yeah. So he's done really well here on a weekly basis. He's got some momentum going into this week, so we're going to be rooting for him this week. He qualifies tonight, traditionally a Thursday night qualifier, but I think we broke down every piece of it, and you moved to Wednesday. So,
yeah, really, you have to look at every single piece of it. You know, really on the qualifying nights is it's a business decision. You have to look at, okay, where we feel like we're the best, and who are you going against, and how deep is the field. And one of our partners couldn't be here tomorrow night, so that's really important to make sure all of our people that that help us pay the bills and able to get here are here. And one of them couldn't be here, so we just made the business decision to go tonight, and I think we'll be good. I think we've been fast ever since the drop of the green last Thursday night. We've been in contention to win, I feel like, every single night, and the worst we finished when we finished has been third. So like I said, looking forward to tonight. You can't win the Knoxville Nationals tonight, but you can definitely lose it. So our goal going into this is just make sure we're in contention all week long. And if we go do our part tonight and we start in the first 4 or 5 rows, I feel like we'll have a good opportunity come Saturday night.
Absolutely. Now I want to go back with your history and stuff, because you have a lot of interesting history. Obviously, you grew up in Higginsville, Missouri, and talk about that a little bit. Growing up as a kid in Higginsville, I know you played some sports and did some other stuff when you were a kid.
Yeah, I was just a kid that from the time I can remember just wanted to be around racing, and obviously with Danny being my uncle. When I would play baseball in the summer, and any time I could go, whether it be on a Friday or Wednesday, whatever, I just would hop in the vehicle with him and my grandma and grandpa in a van, and I'd go racing. And during the school year, I would dress up on career day as a race car driver. I had a full suit, helmet, everything you could think of, just that would match Danny. That people would say, "What are you?" It would be a baseball player, it'd be a doctor, and here I'd be a race car driver. I'd have the helmet on, and everything. Just that's kind of all I ever wanted to do, and it was almost like it was a dream that I really probably didn't think it was ever going to happen. I was hoping it would, but as time went along, I've got the opportunity from Danny to be able to drive, and here we are some 15 years later. So I feel like I'm still the luckiest guy, in Knoxville this week, just to be able to do not only what to do for a living, but to have our own team and have great partners on our team. We feel very, very fortunate.
And your mom is Danny's sister, and your grandparents were a big influence on you too when you were a kid.
Yeah, really. Really, my grandma and grandpa, but probably most importantly, my grandpa. And even today, it's just he's almost, he really is my best friend. No matter if it's something that's going on in my life or something that's involving racing, there's really no decision I make, business or personal, that doesn't have his input. And it's. I think a lot of times you around people and you don't really get to thank them and stuff, and it's too late. Something happens to them. I've thanked them over the years and said, hey, no matter if something happens to me tonight or you tomorrow, I just want you to know thank you for where you've taken me in my career. And he's been a huge part. And I've said it many, many times, without George and Danny, there would be no me, I feel like. And I'm just very, very fortunate to have. A lot of times as a kid, when you start racing, either two things. You don't have the money to go race or the equipment to race, and if you do have those things, you don't have the people that can steer you in the right direction to make sure you're making the right decisions, on and off the track. I was very, very fortunate. I had both, and my opinion when I first started, if I don't make it in this sport, it's going to be because I don't have the talent, not because I didn't have the right people surrounding me or the equipment. So, like I said, we've just been very, very fortunate to that all three of those things lined up, and I'm still learning today. If Danny, he's less and less likely to help me today than he was when I first started. But there's really not a week that goes by that I don't run, hey, if on a restart, if this was happening, what would you do? And it seems like he's telling me the truth. So But to me, I think that the moral of the story is you're never too old to learn, and I'm still trying to be a student of the game every single week. I watch a lot of video, and like I said, just lucky to have two really good guys in my corner.
When do you remember first going to the races with your uncle?
I remember coming here, and me and my grandma was set in section H, row 20, every single week, and I remember going and every single he would win everything there was around here. And I remember a cool thing for me to do at 5, 6, 8 years old is I wanted to be in the picture. I want to be in Speed Sport News, whether or whatever Hawkeye Racing News back then. And I remember if I could leave 2 laps prior, 2 to go, and run as hard as I could and be real nice to that gate official down in turn 4, he would let me run down there and I could get in the picture in time. So I would do the same thing at Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls a little further. I had to run all the way around the track, but I was able to get in a lot of those pictures, and those are some of my greatest memories, as a kid. And I think that's kind of even instilled in life. I think you're either used to winning or used to losing. And I think as a kid, I was used to winning. So when I started racing, to me, that was what we were going to do. We got to win. And, to run 5th or 6th is, you can ask my wife, it's up here in the second row. That's for a long time running 5th or 6th, like the world's going to end. And we would drive. We'd get in the car after a race, and we may drive 5 or 6 hours the next race, and I may not say 2 words just because I was just I wanted to win. I wanted to make it in this sport. And I've learned, I'm still a bad loser, but I've learned along the way that no matter really, whatever happens is going to happen. All we can do is prepare the best and do the best we can on and off the track. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if it's not, the sun's still going to come up tomorrow. So I think that's. And I've even instilled that even a little bit more this year. We've not had the best of luck. We've had some good runs, but it seems like, attitude, especially with our team, are contagious. And if I come in on Monday morning and I'm pissed off because we ran bad on Saturday, and I carry that throughout the whole shop, you can see how the attitudes change. And I just got to kind of come in with the best attitude I can and say, hey, we're going to go back next week and try our best again.
You talked about playing baseball when you were a kid. What other sports were you involved in? You're in a small town in Higginsville, so were you involved in all of them, or?
Yeah, I was on my freshman year. I was a quarterback of our freshman football team, and really, as a lot of kids know, football practice starts the week of the Knoxville Nationals, and usually it's 2 days or whatever. And really, it would come to a line in the sand, and I had to make a decision. Okay, do I want to go be a part of high school football team and do all those practices, or do I want to go to the Knoxville Nationals? And I didn't choose the football route. So here I am, and we got, luckily it worked out. And even if it didn't work out, first and foremost, I'm a fan of the Knoxville Raceway. I'm a fan of Southern Iowa Speed Week, and I think that's a cool part. Even when I'm not racing, I'm looking. I like enjoy. I watch as many races as I can, and I'm impressed by these drivers just like you guys. They make awesome moves and good decisions. And Kyle Larson, he's these guys that you think, oh, they're good, but in my eyes, they're really, really good. So I'm just a huge fan of the sport.
Were you a center on the basketball team?
No, I was actually I was a center on the basketball team, but I'm only 6'1", so I played against kids that had arms longer than me. It seemed like so. It's just a lot of memories like that. Growing up as playing sports, and my wife, we can always go back. My wife lived 15 miles away from me, or 10 miles away from me, but I never knew her. But we always beat her. We always beat her team in sports. So I can
She's
always
contradicting that.
Yeah, but
pull out the records.
Yeah. But no, it's always fun to look back at that stuff.
You were better than you're saying you were at basketball.
I was decent.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
it didn't matter what it was. No matter if it was checkers or basketball or whatever, I wanted to win. So that's kind of if I had to go against, I was the type of guy. If I need to go against a guy that was 6'8", and I had a lot of ball hogs on my team too, so I didn't get to shoot much unless I got the rebound. So I had to get some rebounds if I wanted to score some points.
You didn't start racing at a really young age either. When did you actually start getting into the
Yeah,
competitiveness?
I never raced go-karts, never raced anything. I just went straight to 360 sprint cars, and I think I was about 19 or 20 years old at the time. And my family, or my mom and dad, just never really, I think that's how you really got to get going. And they were like, hey, if you want to go race, you're not going to live under our roof. And that was kind of their attitude. And I was like, man, I'm only 16. I ain't got nowhere to go. So, And Danny probably did. I was hanging around too much. Danny didn't want to take me out, I don't think. So, I was waiting until I was 18 or 19. And, really, even when I started racing, it wasn't like my family was like, oh, gosh, good luck, you're going to be the next Steve Kinser. They was like, my dad told me, you're never going to make it. There's so many people out there that have not made it, and you're not going to make it. I think that was almost, he knows how tough the sport was, and this was kind of deterring me. And I can tell you, every single time I feel like giving up or it's not going well or whatever, I think about that conversation. I'm like, even if I give up today, he's won. So, and he doesn't know, he probably knows he said that, and I've never really brought that up to him. But yeah, that's, even today, that drives me if somebody's saying you're not going to make it. And I don't feel like we have made it. I think there's still a lot of things I want to accomplish in the sport, and it's just that's my burning desire to not let anybody tell us you can't in life. You can't do anything you want to do.
You're making me start to feel like Oprah now. All right. So George Lasowski, your grandpa, he's the one who really fueled your career early on, right?
Yeah, he was actually. Danny provided the car for us, but anything above and beyond that we tore up was out of my pocket. So I had to buy be able to get there and pay the pit passes, and if we tore up a wing, he provided one car. And my grandpa's rule was I was working at the car dealership, and I had a day off, and we had Friday nights and Saturdays off, and the rule was if come to be able to go race, I had to come work on the car and really learn about these cars. And it was really me and him in the shop a lot of times, and that was some of the best times of my life to be able to spend it with him and work on those cars. And like I said, he was very, Danny couldn't go with us. He was out obviously racing with the Outlaws or whatever, so it was just basically me and him. And one thing I always learned too that was pretty cool about my grandpa, he was, as a lot of you guys know him, he seemed like the most easygoing guy in the world. Never said a bad word about anybody that I've heard. And he was always very, very hard on me at the shop, and he never would ever criticize me at the racetrack. But as soon as we got in that dually to leave, it was on. So I mean, he made sure that he knew, that I knew that, hey, you didn't run a good lap there. Why'd you do that? And we won by half a lap, and he never, he'd say, but we should have lapped the field. I mean, he was always just trying to make me better. And another thing I always remember about that was always real funny about him is he'd always run a stopwatch. And this is before we had timing and scoring. So basically you had to depend upon one of your crew guys to tell you, okay, are we in hot laps? Are we fast? Are we slow? And I remember a lot of nights going out, and it seemed like I passed everybody there was on the track in hot laps. And I'd come in, and I'd say, how are we? He's like, well, we're half a second off. I'm like, how are we half a second off? But I think that was in his mind. If he told me I was a half a second faster than everybody else, then I would kind of let my guard down. So he was always pushing me, even today, to make me as best I can.
I don't think it surprised anybody to know that you're pretty successful at the car dealership either.
Yeah, we've, a lot of people know at 21 or I think maybe 23 when I got the call from Lonnie Parsons. I was doing F&I finance at a Blue Springs Ford car dealership, and I was making 125, 150 grand a year doing that. And Lonnie called to say, hey, would you want to come drive my car full time on the World of Outlaw or like around here? And I didn't think about it twice. I mean, it was basically you're going to go from making 125 to $150,000 a year to probably making 25 or 30 grand. If you have a bad year, it didn't matter to me. And I had some money saved up, and I had just bought a house, and I went from having some money saved up to having a house to when me and my wife first started dating. I kind of feel bad today, but it was like, hey, you wouldn't mind coming over to the house and watching movies, and could you bring the pizza in the movie? Because I didn't have the money to. That's the honest to God truth. It's racing those 2 years. I didn't make a lot of money, and I was almost broke, and I really was broke. And I think that's a lot of that stuff just humbles you now, knowing that you had some money saved up, now you don't, and now here we are.
I want to go back a little bit before that. Your first win was at Mayetta, I think, in Kansas, right?
Yeah, we actually, me and Grandpa won a 410 race, and we had a 360 in. And what I remember most about that night is we ran our feature, and it started pouring rain. So I never even got a trophy. I never even got the victory lane. All the stuff I wanted, thinking that I wanted to do, and just it was just me and him. And it was the first night I remember too. His first night Tony Stewart won his first NASCAR race at Richmond. Because I remember listening to the radio on the way home, and So that's a couple things like that usually stick. As racing goes on, you have some crashes, you forget a lot of things, and those are the few things that I've learned over there, or remembered over the years.
Thank goodness you didn't have 200 partners to thank that night, because, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been good.
I want to get back to Lonnie Parsons. You raced around here a little bit. You're going to attack Knoxville for the first time in your grandpa's car. You blow your only motor in hot laps the first night of the season that you were going to do that. You remember that night?
Yeah, actually back up a little bit though. In 2002 or I think 2002, we were having a really good year, and one of my grandpa's rules was like, you're not going to Knoxville until I feel like you're ready. And it seemed like I'd raced forever before I'm like, I want to go to Knoxville. That's where I want to go. And nope, you're not going. And Jimmy Carr was around our shop because he was helping Danny build their team up, and he kind of helped the situation of talking my grandpa into it. My grandpa was just worried that if he ever took me to when you crash Knoxville, there's a good chance that the ending's not going to be good, and he just didn't want to bring me up here and get me hurt and then have to turn around to my mom and my dad and my grandma and all these people he didn't want to be, I don't think, responsible. And they brought me to the 360 Nationals, and he was not for it still at that. I can remember he was still very angry. And Wable came here, and we actually ran third at the 360 Nationals the very first time we were here. So we had a lot of success. And it was weird. When I came here, it was like I'd watched so many laps of Danny that I almost knew. I was like I'd almost raced. And there's not many guys that just roll in here and have success. And we were very, very fortunate from day one to have that success. But back to your original question, when we went to the 410 class, Junior Holbrook had gave us an engine to use, and we didn't make it through hot laps, and it had already blown up. So it was definitely our 410 debut wasn't so successful.
You came back the next year and won the 360s, I believe, the track title.
Yeah, it was. We were really good that year. We won 5 or 6 in a row late in the year, and that kind of just catapulted me into the Lonnie Parsons ride. And we'd won everything in sight, and we got an opportunity to go do that, and we felt like that was the right opportunity at that time.
So you raced with him locally here. You got your first 410 win here. The next year they decide they're going to go out on the Outlaw Tour, and we've talked about this lots of times. But if you had to do it again, what would you do there?
Yeah, it's when you race and your car owner comes up to you and says, "Hey, we want to go on the Outlaws." It's not you really don't have a choice. It's like in your back of your mind, you're thinking, "I'm not really ready to go do that," because you're going to get your teeth kicked in. But I didn't really have a choice. And looking back, the first race of the year we were leading at Manzanita, and we roll a left rear tire off the wheel, and I break my shoulder. Well, instead of just saying, you know what, let's get healed up, I raced the next night and the next night, and I could run about 6 or 8 laps, but then my whole arm would go numb. So about June of that year, Tim Schaefer got fired, and there was another, so basically the trickle-down effect is he had more experience, and I was out. And really that, by me winning the 360 championship here and then getting hired on that deal and then getting fired, it really, again, humbled me. And I thought, man, if I'm running 360s this year and next year I'm in the Outlaws, I'm going to be in NASCAR in probably another 6 months is what my mindset was at that time. But it definitely humbled me, and I really don't feel like I would ever be where we are today without really having the rug pulled out from underneath you. And I remember calling my grandpa, on the way home. Me and Heather went to get all my stuff in Des Moines. I said, what am I going to do? Now what? He's like, well, you got a choice. He said, you can either go back to the car dealership and work and just take a normal job, or, you can either quit, or you can go back out and kind of, put all the blocks together and come back and show these people that you can still race. And I'm glad I chose the latter.
Yep, and that's when you met up with the Dukes family.
Yeah, it was kind of a right place, right time. They had a car around home that Tim had raced, and Terry had worked on it, and Gina was there, a big part of it. And Tim was kind of winding his career down, and they had really good equipment. They had 2 of everything, and it was a time that it worked out. They needed a driver, I needed a ride, and we kind of went and we won pretty much everything in sight. And just very fortunate that those all lined up at that time, or who knows where we'd be.
They hadn't run 410s before then, right?
No, never run 410s, and we were able to put a deal together for the Knoxville Nationals and come up here, and we missed the A-Main by 1 spot. So we felt like at that time, to be able to do that kind of put us back on the map a little bit.
And that's when you first started getting partners too, like Super Clean and those types of things. They came along after a couple of years.
Yeah, really. I knew once I got fired out of that Casey's deal, as a driver, a lot of the times if you are the hired gun, you have your helmet bag and you have your seat, and that's really all you got. And I knew once I got fired out of that deal, the business person clicked onto my head. And I knew if I ever want to make it in this sport and really have something at the end of the day to have, I've got to own our own team. And to be able to own your own team, you got to have people that help you. And my goal at that time from that point on was, hey, how can we get people to help us and buy into what we're doing? And it took a little bit, but Super Clean came on board and they were with us for a couple years, and then that turned into FEP, which is the same people owned it, and here we are today, some 8 or 10 years later with FEP.
And obviously you parted ways with the Dukes. Was it 07 or 08?
I believe
at the end of
08, yes.
08. And so now that's another scary moment because now you got to start your own team. And I know that was one of the biggest moments of your career too, though.
It really was, and I think you guys are going to see the moral of the story, or this keeps coming up. But when they decided, we raced in, I think it was Lake Ozark, Missouri, and they decided on Monday morning that it was becoming too big of a business to them, and they wanted to have more fun, and they decided they wanted to do something different. And they sent me an email that said, hey, we're going to do something different. We're going to be bringing the stuff that we feel like is yours back to your shop, and where our shop was. And lo and behold, 2 days later or a day later, they show up at our shop, and with a car, a motor, and and again, there's my grandpa George there, and he's like, well, I'll be back. He come back about 2 hours later with a bunch of tools out of his old tools that were rusted up out of his shop, and I said, what are we going to do? And he's like, well, you're going to do what we've always said we're going to do. We're going to fulfill our obligations to our sponsors, and we're going to go out and you're going to prove them wrong again. Prove that you can be a car owner and a driver. And we went to my crew chief now. I called him. Chad Morgan was just kind of working a day job and helping his brother. I called him and said, hey, would you want to come help me? And we went to up to Spencer, Iowa, and ran third with the Outlaws the first night out. And I thought, gosh, this is good. I'm a car, and I can keep all the money. It's but it's just a lot of things have happened over the years. If it wouldn't have happened one way or the other, I'm not sure it all would have turned out like it did. So whatever has happened, again, it's happened for a reason, and we've tried to make a negative a positive. And it's not always been easy, but it's always been fun.
How was that transition? From being a driver to an owner, and you're lining up all the partners, everything that's essential for the team, personnel, everything. That had to be a huge adjustment for you.
It really is, and even today, my easiest job of the week is driving the race car. A lot of it, I'm really the car owner on Monday through Thursday, and making sure that we have all the stuff we need to go race, and making sure that we contact all of our partners and making sure they're happy, making sure that, okay, do we have to do an appearance for Casey's or FEP or any of our 60 partners on our car. And even today, it's but I wouldn't trade it for the world. That is, it can be hectic and can be stressful, but at the end of the day, if we want to go race tomorrow in Pennsylvania or in 2 weeks in California, we're able to do that. And being a car owner and a driver is something that's a lot of work, but something I wouldn't trade for the world.
I was going to talk about that a little bit. You've really taken that freedom, and obviously you race at some of the races your partners help out with. So you're not going to chase any particular point tile or anything like that. That gives you the freedom. 410, 360, whatever's going to pay your bills within reason. You're going to go to that.
Yeah, really, how we do it. We sit down at the beginning of the year and just say, hey, okay, FEP, what events do you feel like is going to help your business? And they'll pick out 10 or 12 events, and then they'll have. They'll go partner with the Outlaws and have hospitality at these events, and a couple hundred tickets. And then what we'll do is we'll go to these events, and we'll go to the hospitality tent just like we're doing right now. We'll have a Q&A, and then we'll have handshakes, things like that, and thank those people for buying the FEP and supporting us. Because really, without those people buying, in turn, why they need me. So it all works hand in hand. And then we'll go to Casey's and says, okay, what events do you guys want to do? The things just like I mentioned, and we kind of lay it out. We're very, very fortunate that FEP is from Eagan, Minnesota, and then Casey's is obviously from Ankeny. So it works out that they're, to me, two of the best Midwestern companies that work together. And if one was in California and one was in Pennsylvania, it may make our schedule really, really hectic. But if we can hit a lot of the Midwestern racetracks, that really hits two birds with one stone, because people can leave that racetrack and go to across the street and buy Casey's gas, or go down the road and buy an FVP battery, and that's really important to them.
Your drive 360 days a year is the next Knoxville Nationals. Talk about that a little bit. How you guys prepare for that throughout the season? I know you talk about the off season is where you win races, that sort of thing. How do you prepare for the Nationals year round?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as, and again, Heather can attest to this, as soon as the Knoxville Nationals checkered hits, I am almost straight into like, gosh, I wish this would start tomorrow. Type mentality, not just because it's my favorite week of the year, just because we from day one, it's weird. You start like, oh, I want to race at Knoxville one day, and then you're like, well, I'd like to win a race at Knoxville one day, and then it's like, well, if I could ever win a championship, that'd be cool. And then it's like, well, if I could ever make the A main at the Nationals, that'd be cool. And it's like you run second, you're like, gosh, if I could ever win this thing, that'd be really cool. But everything we do on our whole entire team is that question keeps coming up. I think that helps at the Nationals, and it's all year long. It's a full-time job of, with our engine program, we're always figuring, okay, about May or June, which ones are going to be our Knoxville Nationals motor, and which one's going to be our Knoxville Nationals car. This car we're going to run the nights. We ran it 2-3 weeks ago. I'll tell you how anal or how superstitious I am. The car that we're going to run tonight is a car we had set back, and we saved it for the Outlaw show here. We're really good the first night, and we crashed with the Ian Madsen, the whole wreck there on the front stretch, and we crashed that car. And most guys would say, you know what, throw it in the corner, but not us. We took it and had it fixed, and had it powder coated, and we ran it here about 3 weeks ago, and we won, lapped up to 8th with that car in our Knoxville Nationals motor. So that car's been set back, for a while, and we feel that gives us the best opportunity to win this race. And but the car we ran on Saturday or Sunday and Monday is a really good car too. So you had that little moment yesterday with me and my crew chief. You're like, well, what car do you think? And he's like, we ain't going down this road. That's the what we had planned on doing, and we feel like gives us the best opportunity this week. So as you can see, it's a planning process of, you just don't come in here on Sunday and say, well, the Knoxville Nationals are Wednesday. What do you guys want to do? You got to make sure that you obviously keep the cart before the horse.
That conversation came after you finished third Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, it's been a process. You really at Knoxville this year, we've ran really well, but we haven't had the comfort that I would like to see in the car. A lot of times when we're really good, this car will pretty much drive itself, and I've just had to do a lot of things on the inside of the car to make me feel better. And every single week we've did something different to try to help me get better. And we have basically, to start the season, we were a 5 or 6 out of 10, I feel like, and really on Sunday and Monday, I feel like we were a 9 out of 10. So we're where I feel like we need to be at the right time.
All right. At this point, I'd like to turn it to any questions out in the crowd that we have. I'd like to give you guys several minutes here if you'd like to do that.
Anything's on the table. Don't be shy.
You going to come to the National Open in Williamsburg?
Do I want to? I've been before, and I almost left a little bit disappointed. We went there and there's 60 cars or something, and you'd think National Open, 50,000 to win. We made the show both nights, which I thought was a huge accomplishment for us as a race team just coming out there, but we left with $1,500. So it didn't even pay our fuel bill pretty much to get there. So these events that are events, like the Knoxville Nationals, the Kings Royal, the National Open, I feel like they should pay. And that's one thing about the Knoxville Nationals. Even if you don't run well, you're gonna leave with money. $9,500 to start the A main. I think it's $9,000 if you miss the show by one spot. So I think that's what's cool about Knoxville. They could pay $10,000 to win, and they could pay $500 to start, and we're all going to be here. But they have continued as it has gotten bigger. They continue to pay more money, and I think a lot of these places around the country that are events, because there are not many events. There's a lot of races, but not many events. I think they all could learn from that, and let's give back to us a little bit. I want you to track to make money, and I want you guys to be successful, but help keep building it. Don't just keep putting money in your pocket.
And Williams Grove, a unique place. I know you enjoyed going out there and racing, and like you said, making the show with 60 cars there and not being a regular out there is a tough thing to do.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, besides Knoxville, it's the toughest place in the country. And to go there, they all have their unique characteristics, and that place is as unique as they get. And I would like to go back. I know it's 3 days now, but we run a lot of the NSL schedule, and there's actually a conflicting date, so there's really no way possible this year. But before it's all said and done, I will be back. And we shouldn't really care about the money. If you win 50,000, who cares what 20th pays? But I feel like next time we go back, we maybe have a little bit better understanding, and we know when we go what it pays. So I was the dummy for not looking. So
You do know Wolfgang drove there for every Friday night.
yeah, that's when gas was 10 cents a gallon too.
And he can tell you how many hours.
Yeah.
20 hours.
Definitely, yeah.
Other questions?
Yeah, last year, right near the beginning of the year in 2015, you were pretty hard hit over there, 3 and 4 in Knoxville. And I think it kind of affected your year a lot, health-wise. This year, you maybe had some parts failure, but you haven't had the big crash, so you're a lot healthier, I think. And so I think that should help you. You did okay at the Nationals, but we were worried during the years that, well, you had some struggles with that other stuff, the crashes and stuff. Got hit with that mud clod that, really tore up.
Yeah, that's really the kind of last year's. Just seemed like once we get a little bit of momentum going, like we'd have the wreck in 3 and 4, and then I really felt like we were on the right path going. And then July 4th, I don't know, a lot of you guys know, but coming off turn 2, a 25-pound mud clod came through the right side of my arm guard and got my right arm. And I never broke a bone besides my shoulder in my life, and instantly my arm went numb, and it was squirting blood like a pinhole in a water hose, everywhere. So it took such a big blow on this part of my arm. It actually blew a hole out this side of my arm. So that was July 4th, and I was laying in the hospital bed, and I said, man, there goes my Knoxville Nationals. I didn't care about what was racing next week or whatever. I'm saying, now what am I going to do? That's my Knoxville Nationals is over. And it wasn't broke, and we stitched it up, but it was the size of a softball for so long. And honestly, I can tell you now, I just wasn't healthy. I mean, I'm out there racing with my arm. It really is not doing what I need. It was so swollen up, wasn't moving fluently like what you need to do. But what are you going to do? I mean, I'm not going to put somebody else in my car. It's a Knoxville Nationals, and it really took about till probably mid-September or October to really get it healed. And knock on wood, we've been very, very fortunate this year that I feel like I'm not only 100% healthy, but probably in the best shape of my life too. And I think that makes a big difference come lap 25 of these races. That a lot of these races we run, I'm running my fastest lap on lap 22, 23, 24, and that's really what you got to do.
What's your opinion of the Australian drivers?
Yeah, I'm good friends with Kerry and Ian, and I really feel like that there's a lot of talent there right now, and I think it's showing. You take a guy like Jamie Veal, you rewind the clock and you go back and watch a video from here in 2008. Man, it was embarrassing, but he's really turned into a really, really good race car driver. He's, to me, in my opinion, if I had to 1 to 10, he'd be in the top 6, 8 drivers in the world right now, along with Kerry and Ian. I think I'm coming back. I'm going back there for a month this year. I'm really looking forward to it. I just think that whole Australian scene has really changed. Before it was, they had 2 or 3 good drivers and the Americans would come clean up, and now it's just as tough there as it is here. And the Australians should be really, really proud because those guys have a legitimate shot this week to run well, and it's not always been that way. And I just think that adds a little flair too. When you get some different countries here, and really the Australians are taking over, man. Everybody that's at my shirt trail, they have an accent. So it's good to see, and something that I'm really looking forward to going back this year.
Do you have the equipment and everything to compete with Donnie Shots and the Stewart team and all that?
With who? Yeah, absolutely. The way we look at it is, I feel like that we may not have 10 of everything, but what we're going to put on the track tonight will run with anything in the country. And we got the best engine builder in Charlie Garrett, best car in Maxim. I feel like my crew with Chad Morgan, Michael Williams, and Wyatt Burks, I'd put them up against anybody. And I really feel like the way I'm driving today, I could put myself up against anybody. So all this sounds like, oh, he should win tonight, but a lot of things have to come into play. And the pill draw is important. Then obviously if you can get a good qualifying effort, then your heat races is very, very important. You got to start 8th and you got to run 4th. And but it is again, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. If I'm meant to draw 75 and qualify 30th, that's what's going to happen. If I'm meant to draw 1 and get quick time, that's what's going to happen. So I'm just going to try to keep a positive attitude all week long and just do the best we can every time we hit the track, because that's really what you got to do. Is you don't have to be the fastest car every single time you hit the track, but you just got to be up towards the speed chart.
So you have to just keep your game plan going? Is that what you...
Yeah, it's really, there's really no game plan really. The game plan is to go as hard as you can and try to stay out of trouble as much as you can. And unless you guys want to kidnap Shots, we could do that too. So has anybody got any black mask in their motorhomes? No, it's that's one thing. I'm looking forward. I've always ran Thursday. I'm looking forward to going up against Shots and Shane Stewart tonight, along with 45 others. If I could ever win this race, I want Donnie Shots to run second. I don't want them to say, well, Shots would have won if he wouldn't have blown a motor. To me, I want him sitting right next to me on the podium. I feel like that. Again, we got to keep ourselves in position. You're not going to win the Knoxville Nationals tonight, but you can lose it. And you're not going to win it if you're in the C main or the deep in the B main. You're not going to come through there and pass these guys. So our goal is just to keep ourselves in position all week long. And if we can do that, if we can come out of the night being in the top 6, 8 in points, that would be a good night for us.
Turn the mic on. These heats, I've always felt are the best races of the week. The heat races on the qualifying nights. Talk about, we used to invert 10. Now it's 8. What's the key to getting up through there? Is it the first lap? Is it the first couple laps? What are you looking for? I don't want you to give away any secrets, but I don't see Shots in here. He knows anyway.
But to me, the secret is track conditions. That's really, at the end of the day, everybody is the guy from this quick time tonight versus 50th quick. It's so close, the window. And if the track is where you can run around there wide open at a 15.5 or 15.8, I could start 8th and have 50 more horsepower, and I'm not going to catch them. I mean, it's just how it is. So we got to have the track where guys have got to start using their feet, not being able to run wide open is the only way you're going to pass them. And the key is the start. You got to get through, to go 8th to 4th, you need to be running, 5th or 6th, in my opinion, off turn 2. And, you got to do things on those first laps you probably don't really want to do, whether it's go on the outside of a car or do something that's difficult to do. But it's a Knoxville Nationals, and if you run over a wheel and you crash, or you make it through there, it's a real important key to the whole entire week. And even if you qualify good and you don't get through, you're still not out of the woods yet, because you can still run the B main. You're off the front of the B main. Last year we were 10th quick, missed it through the heat. We ran 6th in the heat, ran 4th in the B, and then we went 23rd to 5th in the A on our qualifying night. We were, I think, 14th in points. So I feel like that's too far back. We need to be in that first 2 or 3, 4 rows, in my opinion, to be able to win Saturday night.
You talk about track conditions. Do you think, we think, I don't know what you think, during the year at Knoxville, most of the weekly races, they've had several different types of tracks. Do you think that kind of helps you now, so you know what the track condition is, and say, well, we saw this, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you feel that helps you the way the track has been here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're very fortunate we can run here every week, and the track does change, and the way they do the track changes based off the weather conditions and humidity. A lot of things go into that. And for us to have a notebook that's a little bit thicker than these other guys, definitely will help us. You just gotta, when it comes to track conditions and the heat races, we got about 2 setups that we kind of do that doesn't really vary one way or the other. It's like, okay, if it's real wet, we'll do this. If not, we're kind of along there. It's really up to the driver. You still got to make those heat races. You got to make the right decisions. And you know, when you got to go to the bottom, you better go to the bottom. And when you go to the bottom, you better hit it. If you go down there and you miss it and you slide across the track, you gave up 6 car lengths. You know, every move has to count. And when you make those moves, you really got to do your job as a driver to make sure you hit the bottom, or you go to the cushion. You can't jump over the cushion and let 2 cars back by you. You've got to really, if they had a heart monitor on me going out to qualify and going out for the heat race, they probably wouldn't let me race, because you can see my heart going like this through my shirt or my uniform, just because it's our livelihood. It's the Knoxville Nationals, and if you can't get up for that, you might as well go home. And it's just I'm not nervous now, but I think about things. I start thinking about the heat race, my heart started beating a little bit faster, even sitting here today. So a lot of guys say they don't think about it, but they're lying. They think about it, and I thought about last night. I thought about this morning, and if you don't think when you don't think about it, it's time, in my opinion, to go do something else, because it's not your head's not in it.
And you're one that mingles with the crowd quite a bit. I know you're going to be available 4 to 5 every day, and a lot of these guys like to meditate in their motorhomes, or they just have a different way of getting ready for the races. I feel like if you did that, you'd drive yourself crazy probably. And you're a fan. You like to be out here amongst the people too.
I really feel like that is a part of our sport that should continue to grow. And to me, a lot of these drivers feel like that you owe us something, like the fans owe us the drivers. But I feel the opposite. I feel like that, really, if it wasn't for the fans, you guys sitting here, obviously coming here, and all the people in the grandstands, like we're not going to race for good money. The Knoxville Nationals are not going to be the same. And always just try to be as accessible as I possibly can, spend as much time with each individual person as I possibly can, and especially the kids. That's really where it's at. Give them a high five, hey, how you doing? And then turn around and thank the parents for coming, bringing the kid, because I feel like if they didn't want to bring them, the kid wouldn't be here. So we try to be as accessible as we possibly can. And on Saturday, depending on where we are, I learned a couple years ago that I kind of wore myself out. One year I got up 6:30 or 7 in the morning, went to laundromat, washed my suit, then went to the T-shirt trailer, helped Heather a little bit, then did some appearances. Well, come 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock when I went into the pit area, like I was ready to fall asleep. I was mentally just drained and just exhausted. And I learned right then that, okay, I need to be accessible, but come Saturday, I need to have a couple hours of just to get my mind back right. I think that's what I learned every single year running second to him, is there's something different I did to make sure that I was more prepared the next year. And you can mentally drain yourself. And, I was by the time we pushed off of the A main, I was like, I want to get done so I can go sleep. And that's not good for our team. So I gotta learn to be smarter about that.
Got time for about one more question here before we get Clint in.
Heather, you got anything that you can say? You guys got anything for Heather? You guys got to have a question for her.
Brian and Heather, along with me, I think we're the 3 biggest Royals fans in the world. Kansas City Royals, right?
She's lucky she got we hired another girl to help with the T-shirt trailer, and she doesn't get to come do this stuff. And I've praised her along the way, and she's my best friend, and I'm lucky to be able to have somebody like that that can not only share the ups, but also to help me out of the down parts. And it's not a tough job. I couldn't do what she does, and I'm just very appreciative to be able to have her around, because I'm not sure I would be able to handle some of the things that get thrown my way. And there's a lot of things she does behind the scenes with the T-shirt trailer and just in general in life that just takes some things off my plate. And like I said, I'm very lucky to have her, and there's nobody I'd rather be standing on that stage with if we could ever win it than her.
I don't have a question, but I would like to say, you are the hometown favorite around Knoxville. Everyone cheers for you when you come out. And you're not just a really nice guy, but you are a clean driver. We love to see you race. Unfortunately, we haven't been in the pits one time this year due to health problems. But we're here tonight, and thank God we're here. And we wish you the best all the whole days, and be safe. And we just want you to know we appreciate you.
And I appreciate that. That's what it's about right there. I mean, that's kind of sums up exactly what I said 10 minutes ago. Is like, and again, these two, it was somebody you got accustomed to seeing. They would come down every single week and hug you. And well, I just thought the other day, I said, I ain't seen them in a while. She actually has two favorites. She has like Davey Heskin too. So she actually has a shirt that's got Heskin on the back and me on the front, or vice versa. So yeah, that's what I want to be. So, I think that's what it's about. That's what this racing is all about, is being able to have that connection with, and I have fans like her. I couldn't, if you gave me $1 million, I couldn't tell you their name, but I know their face, and I know that, that they come down, and it's those nights that you have bad nights, that those people that give you a hug and say, oh, it's going to be all right, you did great. And I think to myself, I didn't do great, but thank you. And so that's what our sport's about. And I think, that's when it's all said and done. That's what I'll enjoy and think back of the most is, not only, I feel like that if you make that connection with people, they feel like, man, they're driving with me at times. And you can never have too many fans or as much mojo around your team as you can. And like I said, I've not always been the fan favorite. And believe me, some guys would like to be the villain. That's not me. I'd like to be the fan favorite. And to me, it's, if you don't like me, give me 5 minutes. I can guarantee you won't like me. Maybe you won't not like me as much after we get done talking. I'm just like you guys. The only difference is come race time, I go to the pit area and put a uniform on, and I'm just a huge fan. And like I said, just looking forward to mingling with as many people as I can throughout the week. Having a good week. You guys be safe. Have drink water. I know it's going to be hot the next couple of days. And again, I think more than anything is, a lot of things have happened this week that, even with Brian on Saturday night, that really puts things in perspective. So really, whatever happens this week, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter who wins. It doesn't matter what I do. To be able to be here and race and be around all the great fans, I think that's what the most important thing is. And if I run dead last, doesn't matter. And then it'll be heartbreaking for me, but life's going to go on. The sun's going to come up in Marion County on Sunday, and I think things like those things that happen when you lose a fellow racer, it just makes you, even for a day or a week, it makes you just think. And something that I never met a racer in my life that was as nice a guy. There's no way, in my opinion, a racer could be as good as he was, but as nice as he was. It's just like you got to be a little bit of an asshole somewhere along the line, and that's not who he was. And what you've seen, all the stuff you guys are reading, is what you get. And never met him without a smile on his face, and just he was absolutely living the dream. And I can guarantee if you could ask him today, he was doing what he loved to do, and he was living. He was going to race 200 times this year, and it's just a very, very sad time. Just really feel for not only his family but his wife or his fiance Lauren. And if you see those people, just give them a hug. And anything you guys can do this week, I know you guys get asked to do a lot of things, but there's a benefit tomorrow from, I think, 11 to 1 a luncheon, and then there's an auction on Friday. I donated some nose wing and some few different things, so anything you guys can do to help, whether it's $1 or 50 cents to help their family, we as a group, Sprint Car fans as a group, would really appreciate it.
A lot of people don't know that team is based in Grain Valley, where you are.
They actually they shared a shop with me for about almost a year, but they are actually right across the street. So I wouldn't say we're teammates, but there are times we bounce a lot of ideas off each other. And to do what he did, to go from midgets to non-wing to Indy cars to run on the wing sprint car at the level he was going, and as quick as he did that, he is a modern day AJ Foyt or Tony Stewart. And I got to meet him and didn't really know when he first came in. I thought, God, here's a non-wing guy that's going to try to come do this, and it's hard not to like the guy. I mean, just when a guy's smiling and carrying on and carries himself, never seen him yell at nobody, never seen him, because there's times when you get out of the race car and you want to, I even yelled at him one night, is when he was helping the Buffalo Wild Wings team. They kind of had a 2-car team, and Roger Crockett was driving the other car, and Roger Burlington had kind of roughed me up, or we kind of got into it during the race. And as I came in, I seen a Buffalo Wild Wings crew guy. I didn't even put two and two together, but I chewed Brian Clausen up one side and down the other, not knowing. And then I'm like, man, that wasn't a good idea. And what was he doing? Smiling. He's like, well, I'll relay the information, but I don't think it's going to come across as good as if you would have said it. So, but yeah, just things like that hit home. And we are all human, and we should appreciate every single driver, whether the guy's got quick time tonight or if he's 50th quick. We should appreciate every single one of them. And they're out here putting their life on the line, and to put on a show for all of us fans, and something that just can't take it for granted, no matter if it's racing or in life in general.